Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If copy system in Naruto. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update, what if there was a different Luffy is now on hold, since we've caught up with the author. And heads up, what if Luffy became a marine will also be going on hold soon, as we're nearly caught up there too. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Ichigo awoke his true powers? What if becoming a mangaka in the One Piece world? What if Reborn as Gohan in the future timeline? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top 2 picks and start working on those series next. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 111, Kushina and Makoto spar. They created shadow clones to clear the weeds in the courtyard and clean the house. Phew, that was tiring, Kushina said, collapsing onto the Engawa. Even though the clones had done the work, the fatigue still transferred to them when they were dispelled. I don't even want to cook anymore, Shin. Makoto looked at Shin expectantly. He was the only one who still had energy. The cooking duty fell to him. Shin was a decent cook. Before Makoto arrived, he had been the one preparing their meals. Fine, I'll cook. What do you want to eat? Shin didn't refuse. He couldn't bear to make Makoto work anymore. Anything is fine. I could eat an entire cow right now, Kushina said. They had been busy all day and hadn't eaten anything yet. Wait, we don't even have any ingredients. Let's just eat out. Shin had just stood up when he realized they hadn't bought any groceries yet. Looks like we're eating out. But I don't want to move, Kushina whined. Do you want me to carry you? Shin asked. Kushina's eyes lit up, and she nodded eagerly. Shin, I don't want to move either, Makoto chimed in. No way. You're not that tired. Kushina protested before Shin could even respond. Kushina, you have the sage body, you should recover faster, Makoto argued. The two girls glared at each other, sparks flying between them. Conan, seeing this, hid behind Shin. In the end, Shin didn't carry either of them. Choosing one would only cause trouble. They arrived at Konoha's food street. It was usually bustling, but due to the war, it was deserted. They entered a yakiniku restaurant, ordered some meat and vegetables, and ate hungrily. This is so good! Conan exclaimed. Then eat more, Conan. You need to gain some weight, Shin said, placing more meat on her plate. But I don't want to get fat, Conan said with a pout. No girl wanted to be fat, not even Conan. But you're too skinny, Conan, Kushina said. Conan had been a war orphan, living a life of hardship. She was malnourished. Even after joining Shin and his team, she was still thin. After they were almost full, they bought some snacks from other stalls, like tempura and takoyaki. I'm so full. Kushina rubbed her stomach as they walked back in the evening. I wonder how Tsunade Nichan is doing, Makoto said worriedly. She used to call Tsunade sensei, but she had switched to calling her Nechan, big sister. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Even on the battlefield, she's safe, Shin said confidently. Tsunade also had his Mangekyo Sharingan abilities implanted in her. And she was strong, her strength rivaling that of a Kage. Even the third Kazekage couldn't threaten her. Besides, her main duty wasn't combat, she was a medic. The situation on the Amagakure front isn't good, is it? Why did the Sandaime Hokage call us back? Kushina asked. She hadn't thought much of it before, but now that she considered Konoha's situation, it seemed strange. Why would they call back their strongest fighter when they were in such a precarious position? I don't know, and I don't care. Shin wasn't interested in guessing Hiruzen's motives. Kushina, you should focus on your ninjutsu training. You're falling behind Makoto. Shin said. That's not true. I'm stronger than Makoto. Kushina protested. I don't think so. Makoto looked at Kushina. She didn't think she was weaker. Kushina had the sage body and large chakra reserves, but Makoto had the Sharingan, and it was at the 3-tomo stage. Then let's spar and find out, Kushina challenged. Sure. Makoto accepted. Shin was speechless. He had only meant for Kushina to focus on training, but now they were going to fight. And Makoto had actually agreed. He didn't try to stop them, though. They often sparred anyway. It would be good for them. Shin and Konan followed Kushina and Makoto to the Senju clan training ground. It was evening, but the sun hadn't set yet. Makoto, I'm not going to hold back this time, Kushina warned. Me neither. I hope you won't give up, Kushina. Makoto, you're underestimating me. Kushina used the body flicker jutsu to close the distance and threw a punch. Her taijutsu was excellent, Makoto was no match for her in that area. But Makoto was prepared. Kushina's fist struck a shadow clone. A shadow clone? When did she create that? Kushina was surprised. A gust of wind, and Makoto appeared behind Kushina, launching an attack. Sealing jutsu, adamantine sealing chains. Kushina reacted quickly, forming hand seals. Chakra chains erupted from her back, blocking Makoto's fist. Oomph, you think you can sneak up on me, Makoto? Kushina said smugly. Now I've got you. She spread the chains, trying to bind Makoto. Makoto knew what would happen if she was caught by those chains. She wouldn't be able to break free. She quickly retreated, putting distance between them. Chapter 112, Did you sleep together last night? Makoto, stop running. Kushina yelled in frustration. Makoto had dodged all her attacks, Kushina couldn't land a single hit. Why would I fight you head-on? I'm not that stupid, Makoto said, shaking her head. She put some distance between them, then unleashed a fireball jutsu. Water style, water wall. Kushina countered with a water wall, then quickly closed the distance. She used her monstrous strength to punch Makoto, but it was just a shadow clone. Another miss. Kushina was frustrated. Shin and I, who do you think will win? Konan asked curiously. Probably neither. Shin observed their fight. In a direct confrontation, Kushina would win, but Makoto wouldn't fight her head-on. And Makoto couldn't land a sneak attack on Kushina either. Kushina was too alert. But if they continued fighting, Kushina would eventually win. She had more chakra and stamina. Makoto, what's the point of dodging all the time? Kushina stopped attacking and complained. I don't want to get hit by you, Kushina. I'd end up in the hospital. Makoto also stopped, but she kept her distance, wary of a surprise attack. Makoto, you're guarding against me? I'm so disappointed. Do you really think I'd resort to sneak attacks? Kushina said dramatically. Makoto thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, Kushina, that's exactly what I think. Ouch. Kushina, your reputation isn't very good, Shin chuckled. Even Konan giggled. Shut up, or I'll hit you. Kushina threatened Shin. Shin wisely shut his mouth. He didn't want to be on the receiving end of Kushina's wrath. Makoto, take this. Kushina suddenly threw a kunai, grazing Makoto's clothes. You lost, Makoto. Kushina said with a grin. It was just a graze, but Makoto understood the message. If Kushina had wanted to, she could have injured her. Kushina, that was a sneak attack. Makoto hadn't been paying attention. Shin's interruption had distracted her, and Kushina had seized the opportunity. It was, but you were careless, Makoto. Consider this a lesson. Kushina said. I trusted you because we're friends. I'm so disappointed. Makoto shook her head sadly. Okay, let's go home. It's getting late, Shin said. The sun was about to set. Makoto, don't forget, I won this time.
Fine, you win. But you'll lose next time, Makoto said, a bit frustrated.
She wouldn't have lost if she hadn't been distracted. Back at the house, Shin went to his room and started refining chakra.
Kushina, Makoto, and Konan also went to their rooms to train.
System, why haven't you issued any missions lately? Shin asked after refining chakra for a while.
He only had the mission to help Konoha win the war, which wasn't complete yet.
Did he have to finish that mission before receiving another one?
Missions are random, the system replied.
Fine. Without any missions, Shin had nothing to do. He couldn't improve his strength without the system's help, at least not in the short term. But he wasn't in a hurry. He was already strong enough. And the Fourth Shinobi World War was still far off. As long as he reached 6 paths level before then, it would be enough. But he was ambitious. He wanted to surpass 6 paths level. With the system's help, it might be possible. He was only 11 and already had strength beyond that of a Kage. Surpassing 6 paths level might not be that difficult. As he was thinking about this, his door suddenly opened. He looked up and saw Kushina. Kushina, what are you doing here? I'm scared to sleep alone. Can I sleep with you? Kushina blushed, avoiding his gaze. Shin was surprised. Scared? That was probably an excuse. But he wasn't going to say that. Well, if you're scared, I can't refuse. Shin put on a reluctant expression, though inwardly, he was happy. Kushina rolled her eyes, then lay down next to him. The next morning, Makoto woke up early as usual and prepared breakfast. After finishing, she woke up Konan and told her to eat first, then went to wake up Shin and Kushina. She went to Kushina's room first, but Kushina wasn't there. Makoto felt a sense of unease. She went to Shin's room. Shin didn't usually lock his door. Makoto opened it and saw Shin and Kushina sleeping together. What's going on here? Makoto's expression darkened. Shin was already awake, and Kushina, hearing Makoto's voice, also woke up, rubbing her eyes. You two slept together last night? Makoto asked again, her gaze fixed on them. Kushina was scared to sleep alone, so she came here. I thought I should be a gentleman and comfort her, Shin explained, coughing awkwardly. Kushina nodded. That's right. Makoto scoffed. That excuse was ridiculous. Chapter 113, Jonin are nothing special? Shin and Kushina sat at the table, heads bowed like children caught in mischief. Konan looked at them curiously, then at Makoto. She didn't understand what was happening. Why was Makoto Nichin, usually so gentle, now radiating an icy aura? And why were Shin and I and Kushina Nichin acting so guilty? Shin and I, did you do something wrong? Konan asked. No, of course not. This breakfast is delicious, by the way. Shin quickly changed the subject. Yeah, the breakfast is great. Your cooking is getting better and better, Makoto, Kushina chimed in. Shin finished his breakfast and stood up. I'm going to train now. The atmosphere was a bit awkward, so he decided to escape. He went to the courtyard and practiced taijutsu and kenjutsu. Then he heard a knock on the door. Shin, are you there? It was Nawaki. Shin opened the door. Nawaki, what's up? Nothing much. Just heard you were back, so I came to see you. Oh, I thought you needed something. Shin let him in. Aren't you on a mission? Shin asked. Even during the war, there should be missions, right? I just got back from one last night. I heard you returned yesterday too. Is the war over? Over? Not even close. Kiri's out of the fight, but there's still Suna, Iwa, and Amagakure. Shin shook his head. If he didn't intervene, the war wouldn't end anytime soon. He didn't know why Hiruzen had called him back, but there was definitely some ulterior motive involved. I thought the war was ending. Nawaki sounded disappointed. By the way, I didn't see many senju around.
Are they all on the battlefield? Shin asked.
Yeah, they are. I want to go to the battlefield too and fight for Konoha.
Nawaki's eyes shone with determination. Shin looked at him. Nawaki, I think you should give up on that idea.
I'm not trying to discourage you, but with your strength, you'd be cannon fodder on the battlefield. It wasn't that he thought Nawaki had no potential, but his age was a limiting factor.
Not everyone was like Shin. Shin's physical strength was exceptional, so his age wasn't a limitation. But Nawaki was different.
He had the sage body, but he was still just a child. He couldn't compare to an adult.
Kushina and Makoto were also limited by their age and physical development.
Their strength hadn't increased much lately. Nawaki had the potential to become Kage level, but that was in the future. Currently, his strength was probably at the elite Chunin level.
Even Jonin struggled on the battlefield, let alone an elite Chunin. Countless Chunin had died in this war.
By the way, I heard you're a Jonin now.
Congratulations! Nawaki said enviously.
They had been in the same class, graduated at the same time, but Shin was already a Jonin. It's nothing special, Shin said dismissively.
Nawaki was speechless. Becoming a Jonin was nothing special?
Shin seemed arrogant, but he wasn't trying to be. To him, being a Jonin or a Genin didn't matter. It wasn't a measure of strength.
It was just a title.
Tsukumo Hatake, for example, had Kage level strength, but he was only an elite Jonin.
Nawaki, what's with that look? Are you looking down on me?
Shin asked, noticing Nawaki's expression.
No, of course not. Nawaki shook his head quickly.
He remembered that Shin was much stronger than him. If Shin got angry and beat him up, he wouldn't be able to complain.
Good.
I was going to spar with you, but I guess not.
Shin smiled kindly. By the way, you came empty-handed? No gift? Nawaki scratched his head. He hadn't thought of bringing a gift. I forgot. How about I treat you to dinner? Nawaki offered, wincing slightly.
He knew Shin had a huge appetite.
Sure, I won't refuse a free meal. But is your wallet up to the task? Shin asked. I've saved up some money from missions. Please be gentle on my wallet. Nawaki patted his wallet, feeling a pang of sympathy for it. Kushina, Makoto, Konan, Nawaki's treating us to dinner. Shin called out. Kushina, Makoto, and Konan emerged. Makoto was still frowning. Nawaki looked at Makoto's expression and nudged Shin. What's wrong with Makoto? Ahem, don't ask too many questions, Shin said. Fine, keep your secrets. Nawaki was curious, but he wasn't that nosy. Nawaki, when did you become so generous? Treating us to dinner? Kushina asked, surprised. When was I ever stingy? Nawaki grumbled. Are we going now? We just had breakfast. We're not hungry yet. How about at noon?
Come train with me until then, Shin said.
He decided to give Nawaki some pointers.
Not just because of Tsunade, but also because they were friends.
Chapter 114, Guarding the Thief. Shin spent the morning instructing Nawaki, but now he had a headache.
He swore he'd never teach anyone again. It was mentally exhausting.
He hadn't felt this tired when teaching Kushina and Makoto. Was Nawaki just that dumb? No, that wasn't it.
He was simply more patient with girls. With boys, he was less patient. Thank you, Shin, Nawaki said gratefully. Shin had taught him several jutsu. No need for verbal thanks. Just treat me to a good meal, Shin said.
Sure, anything you want. Then I want a roasted toad from Mount Mayaboku. Can you catch one for me? Shin teased. Where's Mount Mayaboku? Tell me, and I'll go catch one. Nawaki looked at Shin seriously. Just kidding. You'd be lucky if you weren't eaten by the toads there. Shin was just joking. Besides, he didn't know where Mount Mayaboku was. Let's go eat. Shin went inside and called Kushina, Makoto, and Konan, then they left with Nawaki. Nawaki, what are you treating us to? Don't tell me it's just cheap ramen, Kushina said suspiciously. Of course not. I'm treating you to something good. Anything you want. Nawaki declared. He couldn't take them for ramen after Shin had taught him so many jutsu. Konoha ramen might be good, but it wasn't fancy. Speaking of which, Ichiraku ramen didn't exist yet. Tucci probably hadn't opened his shop yet. Then let's have yakiniku. We had it yesterday, but I still want more, Kushina said. Shin nodded. I know a new yakiniku place. The food is better than any other place I've been to. It's a bit far, though, Nawaki said. Really? Shin didn't know. He hadn't been in Konoha for over half a year. You'll see. It's not just delicious, it's also cheap. Nawaki led the way. It really is far, Shin complained. They had been walking for half an hour. Nawaki said it's cheap, right? It's probably because it's so far from the center of the village, Makoto said. Probably. But I wonder how the food is. Shin looked at Nawaki. If the food wasn't good, he'd spar with Nawaki. The restaurant was nicely decorated. And the prices were indeed cheap, about a third of what they usually paid. The marinated meat arrived. They could grill it themselves or have the staff do it. They chose to grill it themselves. Shin, how's Sis doing on the battlefield? Nawaki asked with concern. Don't worry about her. She'll be fine. Tsunade was strong, and Shin had given her his Mangekyo Sharingan abilities with the transcription seal. Even if Konoha lost the war, she would survive. By the way, I heard you were amazing on the battlefield. That you defeated the third Kazekage. Nawaki's eyes held a hint of doubt. He couldn't believe Shin could defeat a Kage. Nawaki, are you doubting me? Want to spar? No, thank you. Nawaki quickly shook his head. He had sparred with Shin before and knew the difference in their strength. He didn't want to be beaten up. Shin, it's ready. Come eat. Makoto placed some grilled meat on Shin's plate, followed by Kushina. Shin, try this. I grilled it myself. Shin looked at the meat Kushina had grilled. It was covered in chili powder. He almost refused, but seeing her expectant gaze, he took a bite. He took a sip of water, his face expressionless. However, he wouldn't be eating that again. Kushina, don't waste food. Even if Nawaki's treating us, we shouldn't waste it. Shin said. He wasn't trying to be mean, he just didn't want to encourage Kushina. If he praised her cooking, she might make more. Oomph, it's delicious. Kushina huffed. Kushina-nichan has no self-awareness, Konan whispered. Her voice was soft, but they all heard her. They burst out laughing. Even Makoto, who had been in a bad mood, couldn't help but giggle. After over an hour, they finally left the restaurant. The food had been delicious, better than what Shin had eaten the night before, and cheaper. But even though it was cheap, Nawaki still clutched his wallet with a pained expression. Oh, I almost forgot something important, Nawaki suddenly exclaimed. What is it? Shin asked. I haven't collected my mission reward yet. I'll be going now. Nawaki hurried off. Shin shook his head, then took Kushina, Makoto, and Konan for a stroll through Konoha. He mainly wanted to show Konan around. They returned home in the evening. Makoto kept a close eye on Kushina. Wherever Kushina went, Makoto followed. Makoto, why are you following me? Kushina was annoyed. Makoto had even followed her to the bathroom. Why do you think? Makoto countered. Fine, I'll sleep in. My own room tonight, Kushina said, defeated. But Makoto continued to watch her. She was determined to keep an eye on Kushina. Fine, Follow me if you want. But don't come into my room. Kushina entered her room and shut the door, locking Makoto out. She wouldn't let Makoto in.
Being watched constantly was uncomfortable.
Makoto smiled and left.
But she didn't go to her own room. She headed towards Shin's room.
Kushina didn't understand the concept of guarding the thief. Chapter 115, Battlefield Situation and Collision.
Shin stared at Makoto, dumbfounded.
So, only Kushina is allowed to come to your room at night? Makoto asked, sitting beside him. Well, no, but...
I'm scared to sleep alone, Makoto interrupted, using the same excuse as Kushina.
Shin's lips twitched. Are you going to refuse?
Makoto blinked at him, her heart pounding.
Shin hesitated.
Refusing seemed cruel.
He was a gentleman, how could he refuse? Yep, I'm 100% sure I have absolutely no ulterior motives. None at all.
She was nervous, despite her calm facade. The thought of Shin and Kushina sleeping together had bothered her.
She couldn't stand the imbalance.
So, after tricking Kushina, she had come to Shin's room. But now she was worried.
What if Shin rejected her? What if he didn't like her? Ahem, of course I wouldn't refuse a lady. If you're scared, Makoto, you can stay here.
I'll protect you,
Shin said, trying to sound reassuring. Makoto's pale face regained its color. She was relieved, then laid down on the tatami mat.
Aren't you going to sleep, Shin? She asked, then blushed slightly.
Why did she sound like a doting wife?
Shin had been planning to refine chakra, but he couldn't focus now.
He lay down next to Makoto. What if Kushina finds out tomorrow? He asked. If Kushina found out, she might attack him with a kitchen knife. Don't worry, Kushina sleeps late. She won't find out, Makoto whispered. The night passed peacefully. Makoto woke up early and prepared breakfast. After finishing, she went to wake up Kushina. Seeing Kushina rubbing her eyes sleepily, Makoto felt a pang of guilt, but also a thrill. Makoto, what are you thinking about? Kushina asked, noticing her expression. And nothing. Makoto quickly shook her head. She couldn't let Kushina know, or she might not talk to her for days. Kushina looked at Makoto, sensing she was hiding something, but she didn't ask. Half a month passed. Shin had been back in Konoha for a while now.
He had also learned about the situation on the battlefields.
Things weren't looking good for Konoha.
They were losing ground on the Suna front.
Suna and Aim, who had been on the defensive, were now pushing back.
The Konoha forces had been driven out of the Land of Rain. The defeat on the Suna front had even affected the IWA front, where Konoha was also losing ground. In the original story, Suna and Aim hadn't joined forces.
Amagakure had been enemies with everyone.
But now, Amagakure was allied with Suna and IWA, putting Konoha at a disadvantage. Amagakure might be a small village, but it was the strongest besides the 5 great villages. Shin had suppressed Hanzo before, but without Shin, Hanzo was a force to be reckoned with. He had single-handedly overwhelmed Tsukumo Hatake on the battlefield and almost killed him several times. With his summon and his own strength, Tsukumo was no match for him. With Tsukumo occupied, the third Kazekage was free to focus on Orochimaru and Jiraiya. And Tsunade had to deal with Chiyo. Thankfully, Ebizo was still recovering from his injuries. But enough about Konoha's predicament. Shin was also in a difficult situation. He had a full house tonight. Kushina and Makoto were both in his room. Makoto had arrived first, and Kushina had snuck in later. Seeing Makoto in Shin's room, the atmosphere had become incredibly awkward. Kushina, if I said Makoto came here to ask me about ninjutsu, would you believe me? Shin asked with a stiff smile. Yes, I came to ask Shin about ninjutsu, Makoto lied, blushing slightly. It was the first time she had ever lied. Ha, you think I'm stupid? Asking about ninjutsu in bed? Kushina scoffed. She was furious. Makoto,
I thought we were best friends. Kushina glared at Makoto.
She should have known better than to trust her.
You jerk. Kushina punched Shin. Wait, Kushina, I have something to say.
Shin said, grabbing her fist.
What are your last words?
I'll let you say them, then I'll send you to your grave.
Kushina glared at him.
I don't think I deserve to die, Shin said.
Still arguing? Die. Kushina punched Shin again, but her punches were weak. Kushina, you can't bring yourself to hurt me, can you? Shin chuckled. You're still laughing? Kushina punched a hole in the nearby table in frustration.
She was angry, but she couldn't bring herself to hurt Shin.
Oof, Makoto, you owe me an explanation. Kushina glared at Makoto. Makoto felt a chill. What kind of explanation, Kushina? You know what I mean. Kushina was fuming, her jealousy growing. Makoto lowered her head, admitting her guilt. Chapter 116, Teaching the Sage Mode. Kushina and Makoto left Shin's room.
Shin watched them go, worried they might start fighting. He decided to check on them, but Kushina pushed him back as he reached the door.
Don't get involved. Go back to sleep.
She closed the door and dragged Makoto to her room.
Kushina glared at Makoto, who remained silent. Makoto, don't you have anything to say to me? Kushina asked, seeing Makoto's silence. What do you want me to say? Tell me how many times it happened. Kushina looked at Makoto, certain it wasn't just once. Makoto, tell me the truth.
Don't lie to me, or I'll be angry.
If I tell you, will you not be angry? Makoto asked. Kushina considered this. I'll try not to be. You promised, Kushina. Don't get mad. Just tell me. Half a month, Makoto confessed, lowering her head.
Kushina's face froze, then she jumped up, her eyes wide.
What? You slept with Shin for half a month? Makoto looked at Kushina's angry expression and quickly said, You promised not to get angry.
I did, but I can't help it.
Kushina headbutted Makoto in frustration.
Silence filled the room as both girls clutched their heads and crouched on the floor.
Ow. Kushina rubbed her head. The impact had hurt. I'm hurt more than you. Makoto felt a large bump forming on her head. Humph, you still have the nerve to complain? Makoto, I really misjudged you.
No, from tomorrow onwards, I'm sleeping in Shin's room.
Kushina declared. Makoto, ignoring her headache, immediately objected. Why not? Kushina glared at her. Makoto had slept with Shin for half a month, and she hadn't even noticed. Kushina wanted to bang her head against the wall. Makoto was speechless, but she still opposed Kushina's declaration. I'm sorry, Kushina, but I can't agree to that. You're only saying that now. Kushina glared at Makoto, who lowered her head in shame. The next morning, Shin woke up to find Kushina already awake.
This was the earliest he had ever seen her up. Kushina glared at him, then turned away, refusing to acknowledge him.
She was jealous. Ahem, Kushina, how about I teach you some ninjutsu today?
Shin asked, trying to appease her.
Not in the mood, Kushina said coldly. Then how about Sage Mode? Interested? What's Sage Mode? Kushina's curiosity overcame her anger. This.
Shin spent half a minute gathering natural energy and entered Sage Mode.
3 tomo appeared on his forehead, and red markings spread across his face. Did you draw that on yourself? Kushina poked the markings on his forehead. Shin's eye twitched. Did she really think he could draw those on himself in an instant?
This is the Sage Mark. You get it when you enter Sage Mode, Shin explained.
Sage Mode enhanced the user's ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. Enhanced? Kushina's eyes lit up. Shin smiled.
He had successfully diverted her attention. He had planned to teach her Sage Mode later.
He hadn't perfected it yet.
He could activate it in 30 seconds now, much faster than the 3 minutes it used to take, but it was still too slow. In a battle against a strong opponent, he wouldn't have that much time.
So, want to learn it? Shin asked. Kushina nodded eagerly.
I'll teach you after breakfast, Shin said with a smile.
Kushina wasn't as angry anymore.
It seemed his plan had worked.
After breakfast, Shin started teaching Kushina and Makoto Sage Mode. Kushina would have an easier time learning it.
The more chakra you had, the easier it was to learn Sage Mode.
Makoto, as an Uchiha, had decent chakra reserves, but she couldn't compare to Kushina. Kushina's chakra reserves were several times greater than Makoto's.
That was the advantage of the Sage body.
A month passed. Kushina and Makoto spent their days practicing ninjutsu and training in Sage Mode. Kushina was making progress, but Makoto was still struggling to even sense natural energy.
Shin couldn't help her with that. She had to do it on her own.
After teaching Kushina and Makoto, Shin still had to teach Konan and do his own training.
He was exhausted.
Kushina and Makoto hadn't come to his room during this time. They were keeping an eye on each other.
Shin was a bit disappointed.
He hadn't paid much attention to the war.
He wasn't on the battlefield, there was no point worrying.
But he was sure Konoha wasn't in immediate danger.
If they were, the village wouldn't be so peaceful.
And he didn't have any sources of information.
Even if he wanted to know what was happening, he had no way of finding out.
Chapter 117, An Invitation from the Uchiha Clan.
On the battlefield, Hiruzen Sarutobi's brow was furrowed with worry.
The situation wasn't looking good.
The third Tsuchikage, Anoki, was a formidable opponent, his strength rivaling Hiruzen's. And Danzo was struggling against Rashi, the Four-Tails Jinchuriki.
Konoha had divided their forces, so they were outnumbered by IWA. They were gradually losing ground. Danzo, should we send Uzumaki Shin to the battlefield?
He could help relieve the pressure, Hiruzen suggested.
Absolutely not. Uzumaki Shin's reputation among the Konoha shinobi is already high. Do you want him to gain even more influence and challenge you for the Hokage position? Danzo asked. Don't underestimate him just because he's young. He might not be a threat now, but in a few years, who knows? And don't forget, he has Tsunade's support.
Hiruzen fell silent. He had recalled Shin to Konoha partly due to Danzo's suggestion.
Shin's popularity was indeed a concern.
It hadn't been a problem on the Kiri front. Although Shin had defeated the Kiri forces and killed the third Mizukage, few knew about it. No one had witnessed it firsthand.
The Konoha higher-ups had kept it a secret. But on the Suna front, Shin's reputation surpassed even Tsukumo Hataki's.
They had witnessed his strength, his ability to overwhelm Kage and freeze an entire battlefield.
People admired strength, especially shinobi.
Shin might be young, but age didn't matter when it came to power. Hiruzen felt threatened. Shin was young, but with the support of the Konoha shinobi, he could potentially challenge Hiruzen's position. The war had caused heavy losses for Konoha.
The families and friends of the fallen shinobi were grieving and angry.
That anger would be directed not just at the enemy, but also at Hiruzen. Even though Hiruzen hadn't started the war, some villagers might lose their composure and demand his resignation. And if a popular shinobi emerged at that time, Hiruzen might be forced to step down. Shin's age was a factor, but as Danzo had said, in a few years, when Shin was older and even more powerful, someone might try to make him Hokage.
And sometimes, youth was an advantage. It represented potential. Some believed Shin might become the next god of shinobi, surpassing even Hashirama Senju.
After much deliberation, Hiruzen decided against sending Shin to the battlefield. He wasn't the same Hiruzen as in the future. He still valued his position as Hokage.
And Konoha wasn't in a desperate situation yet.
Shin, back in Konoha, was oblivious to Hiruzen and Danzo's concerns.
If he knew, he would laugh.
He had never wanted to be Hokage. The position might be tempting to others, but to Shin, it was just a hassle. He hated trouble, and being Hokage meant a lot of trouble. The Hokage was responsible for managing the entire village. It was a headache. Why would he burden himself with such a troublesome position when he could live a carefree life? He valued strength, not political power. Even if people begged him to become Hokage, he wouldn't be interested. He was currently fishing with Kushina and Makoto by a river. Conan sat beside him, watching. "Why are we fishing?"
"I'm not interested in this," Kushina complained.
"It's a form of training. Fishing requires patience, just like training. Otherwise, you'll never master Sage Mode," Shin said.
Learning Sage Mode required a calm mind, which was a challenge for Kushina. So Shin had brought her fishing to help her improve patience. After an afternoon of fishing, Shin and Makoto had caught several fish, while Kushina hadn't caught a single one. She was frustrated, especially with Conan's amused glances.
"Let's go."
"It's getting late," Shin said, carrying the bucket filled with his catch.
As they returned to the Senju compound, they saw an Uchiha shinobi waiting for them.
The Uchiha handed Shin an invitation, then left without a word. Shin looked at the invitation, confused.
"What does it say?" Kushina asked curiously.
"It's an invitation to the Uchiha clan compound."
Shin handed the invitation to Kushina. The Uchiha clan's invitation wasn't unexpected.
After all, Shin's Sharingan was no secret now. What was surprising was that they had waited so long to invite him.
"It must be because of your Sharingan," Makoto said. "Shin, what are you going to do?" "Are you going?" Kushina asked.
"I think you should be careful," Makoto said.
As an Uchiha, she understood their personality.
They were prone to extremes.
This invitation could be a trap. Shin smiled.
He wasn't afraid of the Uchiha clan, no matter their intentions.
He wasn't even afraid of a hidden village, let alone a single clan. Besides, most of the Uchiha were on the battlefield. There couldn't be that many left in the village. "I'll go. I want to see what they're up to."
Makoto didn't try to dissuade him, but she reminded him to be careful. Although he had decided to go, it wouldn't be now. It was almost dark. And he wanted to make them wait. He didn't care if they were offended.
Chapter 118, Your Uchiha clan is too poor.
A few days later, Shin headed towards the Uchiha clan compound.
The Uchiha clan's territory was still located in the center of Konoha. They hadn't been ostracized to the village outskirts yet. Shin went alone. Kushina and Makoto didn't accompany him.
When he arrived at the Uchiha compound, the guards didn't stop him. They had been instructed to let him in.
In the main hall, someone was already waiting for him, the Uchiha clan elder. This showed that the Uchiha clan took Shin seriously. "Uzumaki Shin, I presume?"
"I am Uchiha Taijima, the elder of the Uchiha clan."
The elder stood up and greeted Shin. "Ah, the renowned Uchiha Taijima-san. It's an honor,"
Shin said with a smile.
Uchiha Taijima paused, then asked, "You've heard of me?" "Nope."
Shin shook his head. He didn't even know who the current Uchiha clan head was, let alone the elder.
"But this guy's name was Uchiha Taijima, wasn't that similar to Uchiha Madara's father, Uchiha Taijima?" Uchiha Taijima's expression flickered. "Uzumaki Shin, I sent you an invitation several days ago."
"Why are you only coming now?" he asked, his tone laced with displeasure.
Shin glanced at him. "I've been busy." "Is there a problem, Taijima-san?" Uchiha Taijima's face darkened. "Busy?"
He had received reports that Shin was seen shopping just yesterday.
"Taijima-san, let's get to the point. What do you want?" Shin said impatiently.
He didn't have time to waste on this old geezer.
"Uzumaki Shin, you're an Uzumaki. How did you obtain the Sharingan?" Uchiha Taijima didn't beat around the bush.
He was annoyed that Shin had kept him waiting for days.
"I don't have to answer that. And you should watch your tone. I'm a guest of the Uchiha clan."
Shin released a bit of his killing intent,
making Uchiha Taijima flinch. Several Uchiha shinobi rushed in, their eyes fixed on Shin.
Uchiha Taijima calmed himself down and waved them away. He didn't want a conflict with Shin. The Uchiha shinobi left, leaving Shin and Uchiha Taijima alone.
Uchiha Taijima's expression flickered, then he asked the most important question, the reason he had invited Shin.
How did you awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan?
Shin chuckled. I can tell you, but don't you think you should offer something in return?
What do you want?
Uchiha Taijima stood up, his eyes gleaming with excitement.
If he could learn how to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, he would pay any price.
If someone in the clan could awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, it would lead the Uchiha clan back to its former glory.
Yes, back to its former glory.
The current Uchiha clan might be the most powerful clan in Konoha, but they were still a shadow of their former selves during the Warring States period.
And their position in Konoha wasn't secure. Both Danzo and Hiruzen were wary of them. You'll give me anything I want? Shin asked. Uchiha Taijima hesitated. He couldn't make promises he couldn't keep. Anything within the Uchiha clan's possession.
As the elder, I have the authority to make that decision.
Shin glanced at him. Your authority isn't worth much.
I want several fire release jutsu, Great Fire Annihilation, Great Fire Destruction, and Fire Dragon Flamesong.
Uchiha Taijima's face fell. It wasn't that he didn't want to give them to Shin, it was that the Uchiha clan didn't have them.
Those jutsu had been passed down through the Uchiha clan, but Madara had taken the scrolls with him when he left.
No one in the clan knew those jutsu anymore. Can you ask for something else? We don't have those jutsu. Damn, you Uchiha are poor.
Shin had been hoping they still had those jutsu.
In that case, you have nothing I want. Goodbye.
Shin stood up to leave.
Uchiha Taijima was taken aback. Wait. You can ask for something else.
We have many other fire release jutsu.
I'm not interested in those.
Shin didn't hesitate. Those were the only fire release jutsu he wanted.
He already knew the others. Uchiha Taijima's expression changed.
He wanted to attack Shin, but he held back. He had heard rumors of Shin's strength on the battlefield.
Attacking him would be unwise. Most of the Uchiha clan was away, including the clan head and his son. The remaining Uchiha weren't strong enough. It seemed he couldn't force Shin to reveal the secret of the Mangekyo Sharingan. He'd have to find another way.
Shin left the Uchiha compound and glanced back. He had expected them to attack, but they hadn't.
That's a shame.
He had come here for those powerful fire release jutsu, but he hadn't gotten them. I'll just develop them myself then. Shin headed back to the Senju compound.
When he returned, Kushina, Makoto, and Konan immediately surrounded him. Did the Uchiha do anything to you? Makoto asked.
No, which is surprising.
That's good. Makoto was relieved. Chapter 119. Hiruzen Sarutobi's concern. Shin, why did the Uchiha clan invite you? What did they want? Kushina asked curiously. Are you curious, Kushina? Shin looked at her. She practically had "I'm curious" written all over her face. Yes, I am. But what if I do? Don't want to tell you? Shin grinned. If you don't tell me, you'll regret it. Kushina threatened playfully. Tell us, Shin.
I'm curious too, Makoto pleaded, tugging on Shin's arm.
Slap. Kushina swatted Makoto's hand away. She glared at Makoto.
Seeing them about to argue, Shin quickly changed the subject.
You want to know why the Uchiha clan invited me?
I'll tell you.
They wanted to know how to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. Did you tell them, Shin and Konan asked. Of course not.
Unless they offer something I want in exchange, I won't tell them. Shin wasn't running a charity, he wouldn't give away information for free.
But even if he did tell them, few would be able to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. The requirements were harsh. Even if you knew the method, you might not want to do it.
Uzumaki Shin suddenly visited the Uchiha clan.
You've received the report, haven't you? Koharu Utatane asked Hamura Mitokado. Yes, just now. Hamura's expression was grim. Shin's visit to the Uchiha clan was concerning.
They had to understand his motive and the Uchiha clan's intentions.
They didn't believe Shin would visit the Uchiha clan without a reason. What do you plan to do? Koharu asked. She didn't know what to do, so she sought Hamura's advice.
Send a message to Hiruzen.
Let him decide.
Hamura decided not to get involved and leave the decision to Hiruzen. He sent a message to Hiruzen, who received it the next day. Hiruzen was troubled.
He went to Danzo to discuss the matter. Hiruzen, what do you want? Danzo asked with a frown. I have something to tell you. Hamura just sent a message. Uzumaki Shin visited the Uchiha clan. It seems they invited him. Those Uchiha bastards are still scheming.
They're probably trying to recruit him, Danzo sneered. In that case, Hiruzen, I have a suggestion.
During tomorrow's battle with IWA, make the Uchiha clan the vanguard. Danzo was ruthless.
He wanted to use the war to weaken the Uchiha clan.
Hiruzen frowned. Hiruzen, are you still showing mercy at a time like this? The Uchiha clan is Konoha's greatest threat. We have to eliminate them for Konoha to prosper. Danzo scoffed. Danzo, you want to make the Uchiha the vanguard? Do you think they'll agree? Konoha is struggling. Don't create more problems. Hiruzen said. Danzo lacked foresight. This wasn't the time to target the Uchiha clan. Even if they wanted to, they should do it during peacetime. If they pushed the Uchiha too far, they might rebel, and Konoha might be destroyed. The Uchiha clan was powerful.
If they rebelled during the war, Konoha would be in grave danger.
Danzo remained silent. He might be extreme, but he understood Hiruzen's point. This wasn't the right time. Do as you see fit. Danzo left, leaving Hiruzen to worry alone. He wasn't the Hokage, why should he worry? After Danzo left, Hiruzen sighed.
He was worried about Shin and the Uchiha clan forming an alliance.
Shin had Uchiha blood.
It wasn't impossible. If Shin was weak, Hiruzen wouldn't care, but Shin was strong.
He couldn't ignore him. I hope Uzumaki Shin doesn't join forces with the Uchiha clan. There was nothing he could do now, though. He was on the battlefield and couldn't return to Konoha.
He could only send a message to Hamura and ask him to keep an eye on the situation. Shin, of course, didn't know his visit to the Uchiha clan had caused Hiruzen so much distress. But Shin was also troubled.
He had been teaching Kushina Sage Mode, but she wasn't making any progress. Kushina, maybe you're not suited for Sage Mode, Shin said. Really? I'm not suited for it? Then I wasted over a month of training. You have to compensate me. Kushina demanded. It's not that I'm not teaching you, it's that you can't learn it. How am I supposed to compensate you? Shin said innocently. That means you're a bad teacher. Kushina scoffed. Heh, why don't you just admit you're dumb? Makoto hasn't learned it either. Are you saying she's dumb too? Kushina glared at Makoto. It's different. It's 10 times easier for you to learn Sage Mode than for Makoto. It's normal for her to struggle. And it's also normal for you to struggle. Sage Mode isn't easy to learn.
Shin felt there was a reason Kushina hadn't mastered Sage Mode yet. They weren't in a Sage region.
The environment was different.
And without any guidance, it was naturally more difficult.
But you said I wasn't suited for it. Kushina glared at him. I was just kidding.
If you work hard, you might be able to learn it in 2 or 3 months.
Shin estimated. Whether his estimation was accurate or not depended on Kushina's effort. Chapter 120, Kumo joins the Second Shinobi War. Time passed relentlessly, and Shin celebrated his 12th birthday.
Birthdays weren't a big deal, but he did receive another replication card, an advanced one this time.
He wasn't as excited as he used to be.
As his strength increased, advanced replication cards became less useful. He had mastered Sage Mode during this time, able to activate it instantaneously and maintain it indefinitely.
He could even continuously absorb natural energy during battle, theoretically maintaining Sage Mode forever. Kushina had also learned Sage Mode, but Makoto hadn't yet.
Perhaps she would in the future.
"Shin, dinner's ready. Come try my cooking," Kushina called out. Shin's face stiffened. "I'm not hungry."
"You guys eat first," he said without turning around.
Kushina had been acting strangely lately, spending a lot of time in the kitchen with Makoto, trying to learn how to cook.
But all she produced were culinary disasters. Even with his perfect sage body, Shin couldn't stomach her creations. He'd rather starve.
"Liar. You just said you were hungry and asked Makoto to make dinner," Kushina accused. "Did I? I don't remember." Shin denied it.
He still remembered the taste of the food Kushina had forced him to try yesterday. He had thrown up for an hour.
It was that bad.
He felt like he had been poisoned.
"Fine, don't eat then. Starve." Kushina huffed and stormed off. Makoto emerged and told Shin that she had thrown away Kushina's food. Relieved, Shin finally joined them for dinner.
After lunch, Shin chatted with Makoto and the others for a while, then went to the courtyard to train. Training didn't improve his strength much anymore, but even a small increase was worth it.
Strength was accumulated gradually. Knock knock knock. Shin opened the courtyard door, expecting to see Nawaki.
But it was an Umbu agent.
"Uzumaki Shin, the Hokage summons you to the battlefield," the Umbu said. "The battlefield? I'm not feeling well. Can't I go later?" Shin had gotten used to his leisurely life in Konoha. He didn't want to go to the battlefield. The Umbu frowned. "Uzumaki Shin, Konoha is in a critical situation. The Hokage has ordered you to report to the battlefield immediately." Shin's expression turned serious. Konoha was in danger? Was this true? If so, he had to go. His mission wasn't complete yet. Weren't things going well? What happened? Shin asked.
According to the last report he received, Konoha had stabilized the fronts against Suna, AIM, and IWA.
They were even preparing a counterattack. Why the sudden emergency? Kumogakure has joined the war and is supporting Iwagakure. What? Shin was shocked. Kumo joining the war wasn't surprising, but supporting IWA?
In the original story, the Third Reikage had led Kumo in a surprise attack on IWA. This had forced Inoki, who was fighting Konoha, to retreat and defend IWA.
But now, Kumo was targeting Konoha. "Fine, I'll go," Shin said. He couldn't stay in Konoha now.
He had to go to the battlefield, or he wouldn't get that divine replication card. The Umbu agent left, and Shin returned to the house.
"Pack your things. We're going to the battlefield," he said to Makoto and Kushina. "What happened?" Makoto asked. "Those Kumo jerks are causing trouble. They joined the war and are attacking Konoha." Shin was angry. Were they deliberately trying to prevent him from completing his mission? "System, did Kumo's attack have anything to do with you? Are you trying to sabotage me?" Shin asked the system. "Don't wrong me, Master. This has nothing to do with me. All the changes in this world are because of you."
The system sounded aggrieved.
Fine. I was just kidding."
Shin packed his things, called Konan, who was refining chakra in her room, and left for the land of rain.
"Why are we taking Konan?" "The battlefield is dangerous," Makoto said worriedly. "The battlefield is dangerous, but Konoha might not be safe either." I'm not comfortable leaving Conan alone. And Conan, you don't want to stay, do you?
Shin asked Conan, patting her head. I'll try my best not to be a burden, Conan said, clenching her fists.
Conan was talented and hardworking. She was already as strong as a genin.
Of course, genin were cannon fodder on the battlefield, but Shin could easily protect her.
Shikaku, run faster! Shin yelled. They were riding Shikaku to the battlefield.
Shin had returned to Konoha, and Shikaku had been lazing around in the forest for almost a year.
Shikaku was chubby, but it was fast. Within a day, they reached the border of the Land of Fire. The battlefield wasn't in the Land of Rain anymore. The Konoha forces had been pushed back. The fighting was now at the border between the Land of Rain and the Land of Fire. And the Konoha shinobi weren't divided anymore.
They had joined forces, as had the enemy shinobi.
Shikaku's arrival caused a commotion. The Konoha shinobi were alarmed.
Even Hiruzen came out to see what was happening. But when he saw Shikaku, he relaxed. He knew Shikaku was under Shin's control.
Shikaku's presence meant Shin had arrived.
That wraps up this part of What If Copy System in Naruto.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned.
Just a quick reminder, what if there was a different Luffy is now on hold, since we've caught up with the author.
And heads up, what if Luffy became a Marine will also be going on hold soon, as we're nearly caught up there too.
So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics.
What if Ichigo awoke his true powers?
What if becoming a mangaka in the One Piece world? What if Reborn as Gohan in the future timeline? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next.
I'll take the top 2 picks and start working on those series next. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.